Welcome to Women and the Businesses They Own, the podcast that goes deeper than business plans and branding. I'm Sherry Hooper with Summit Wealth Partners, your host, and I sit down here with powerful women entrepreneurs to explore what it really takes to build something bold, beautiful, and your own. Each episode, we ask questions others don't, questions that spark truth, honor complexity, and celebrate what it really means to lead as a woman in business and in life. So let's get into it. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you're participating with me on our first episode. So tell me a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally. Give us a little bit of history about your business and what you do.
Well, I started a food manufacturing business. We make cream cheese spreads, deli products, salsas, hot sauces, things like that. Um, since I was a little girl, I wanted to only be two things, and that was either a restaurant owner or an artist. So I got a little bit of both in there because I get to write all my own recipes, but it's not a restaurant. Um, I am a mom. I started my business actually in 2005 when I had my son. I thought that I could do anything because I just given birth. So I started that. And I'm married. I've been married for almost 20 years now. And I've had the business now for 20 years. And Braxton, my son.
That is a lot to take on in the same year, a business, almost a marriage, and a baby.
I did it all in the same year.
I
Actually, we got married in the same year.
I think we all think like what you said, we thought we could do it all back then. And that's why we do it when we're younger.
That's true.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I think more of this will probably come out just with some of the questions that I
Sure.
have for you as well. And so we can just expound on them and have so much fun with this. But what part of your business feels most like an act of rebellion?
Um, that's a great question. And I would have to say the fact that when I started the business, I didn't have a plan. I knew that I wanted to own a business, and I would not suggest doing it that way. But I just started it, and I think that there were many people around me that did not believe that I was going to be able to do it or would be able to continue it. And so I remember many times saying that I'm not going to fail. And that was my rebellion. Every time somebody would push back, and I would say, well, we're doing it. I'm doing this
No matter what.
no
Doesn't matter.
matter what. No, there was not an option.
Isn't that though? I mean, I find that to be, just part of our day or we can get negative thoughts in our own brains a lot of times, or the negativity that comes from other people. We have to self-talk in a
Yeah.
positive way. And some of
Hmm.
those thoughts that come into our mind doesn't mean that they're ours. We can delete them, right? And you have to
And
move.
that's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy, but your name of your company again is.
Natural Northern Foods.
And where are you at?
We're located in Traverse City, Michigan.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I know you have a kitchen today. And what else is with your kitchen? It seems that you've been able to over the last 20 years. You started in going to farmers markets. And
Yeah. So I worked for a specialty market in town, and I was actually hired to be their general manager of the store. And it was technically my first time ever working in retail, and I did not. It was not my thing, but I loved the food. I loved the people I worked with. I loved the man that I worked for. And so I went to Ken and I asked him if I could start working in the kitchen. He thought I had lost my mind. Essentially, I suppose I took a demotion, but I was able to, write a menu for them of all their prepared foods. And prior to that, Burrett's Market didn't have prepared foods. So I started this whole other section for that store, which they still continue to this day. I'm not supplying them, but they're still doing it.
Yeah, but it's a legacy for you. You started some.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but honestly, if Ken, who I always see as I really do think of him as my mentor. If he hadn't been open-minded and allowing me to do that, I may not have started this business. So it's a really, I think everything does happen for a reason. But anyway, so while I was there, I was very pregnant and I made a salsa that many people liked. And I decided while I was home on maternity leave, there were some customers that wanted me to continue to make the salsa. And so I did so. And I was talked into starting the business. I literally started it. Braxton was born in December, and I started it in March. And then the farmers market started in May in Traverse City, the Sarah Hardy Farmers Market. So Braxton's a total newborn. And I started making my salsa, and I would go down to the farmers market and I would sell it. And I did that for 14 summers.
What gave you the idea to go to the farmer's market? I mean, what a great place to get notoriety, I the way, like for people to
Well,
you or
yeah, I feel like that came from being at Burritt's Market. So Burritt's is a specialty market that's also downtown Traverse City.
okay.
And so I was already aware of the farmers market because I had gone to the farmers market years prior. I'd always gone on Saturdays. Um, and so I just knew that was an avenue. In my mind, I did not have a plan. So I truly was just going to make salsa and sell it at the farmers market.
And you were making this in your kitchen at home, right?
I was at first, yes, because back then in 2005, you could have, there wasn't, they didn't have the same cottage laws that they do today. So I could
Okay.
make it in my kitchen and then I could sell it over there. And then we could store it back at my house. And then about 2 years later, there were cottage laws that changed. And so I had to rent somebody's kitchen.
Oh gosh.
And so my husband met a man, weirdly enough, who owned a commercial kitchen in Elk Rapids, which was like, I don't know, from where we lived, it was probably about 40 minutes from us. And every Sunday morning, he needed it all week,
Okay.
but he would give it to me on Sunday mornings from 7 a.m. until noon for $25.
Oh,
And so I said, okay, sold. So I got another a Burritt employee, Brendan, who was younger than me but very eager to learn and work. And he and I would drive up to Elk Rapids every single Sunday morning and make salsa and drive it back to my house. And then the following Saturday, I would sell it at the market and then I'd make it on Sunday. And I did that. I did that until 2009. And then we were able to rent the commercial kitchen that I own today in 2009.
okay. So that sounds like 4 years that's a lot of sacrifice for living in Traverse City when our summers are so short. Everybody
Oh,
thinks
yes.
summertime is it when you're in Michigan, right?
Yep.
Giving up every Saturday and Sunday,
Yep.
all those.
Well, and not only that, I still worked for Burrit's. So after I was home about 6 months in, I decided that I was going crazy and I could not be a stay-at-home mom like I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I went back to Burrit's and then I had to work around my husband's schedule. And so then I would go in at 4 o'clock in the morning and work till 11 o'clock in the morning. And for Ken, and then James would go and work at noon till 8 at his job.
Oh my
So we
goodness.
didn't have to have daycare for the first year.
Well, people really loved your salsa, and obviously that gave you huge motivation, and you continued to do it. And you had a Ken. Everybody needs a Ken in their life too. You called him your mentor.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we all need a little bit of our own personal Ken sometimes, whether it's a girl, a boy, somebody that just walks beside you, a family member, somebody as a colleague that just can give you opportunity,
Hmm.
on the back, whatever praise it is, you just need, we all just need one Ken. And
Yeah. I
sometimes it
was very
takes
lucky.
all the other negative out, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Well,
a
he was hard on me, and I think that I respected that a lot, you know. I took that with me even when in 2009 was my last it was Labor Day weekend was my last technically time to be employed in 2009. I've been self-employed since then. And you know, every since then, even today in 2025, every time something isn't right in my head, I'm like, what would Ken do? Or I would be like, Ken wouldn't stand for this. I'm going to do what Ken would do. And he's still around. He's
oh,
retired, but I still tell him that he meant a lot.
what we can do? I like it. I like it because, well, because you could see him in business, and you could see he earned your respect and
Yeah.
respect other employees. He obviously led well. So when you finally got your own kitchen, and tell me about your kitchen today, because I think it started with just a kitchen, and now you've been able to add on other things or outside on the property.
Yeah, so it's taken years. In 2020, I was finally able to buy that building, and then in 2022, I think 23, I'm sorry, we were able to. My dream has been to have a little store on the property, and so I can't go to the farmers markets any longer. But I am going to this year, but nonetheless, I haven't been for a couple of years. And so I wanted to have a store and I could see my customers and then I could still make new products for them every week. And so that's still like our thing. And so I put a store up, and technically last year was my first year, full year in business with the store. And I'm having so much fun with that. And I put that up, and then I got chickens. So I've added chickens to the property, which I love taking care of. And then I put a greenhouse up.
I think I've seen on your Facebook page pictures of your chicken. She seems to come and visit you at the store.
Beverly, yes. But you know, I love it because I do have people that work with me, and I never say work for, they work with, because if it wasn't for them, then I couldn't have the store and Beverly and the greenhouse and all the other things that I get to do. Um, but you know, doing that and having that with them is really great because then they come to work and it's more than just a kitchen. You know, it's they get to see the plants, or they've got the store, or we have events. So it's added a little bit more, I think a little bit more warmth to just a commercial property.
And you get to use your fresh eggs with your recipes, I'm assuming, and your,
No,
no, the eggs are,
nothing I make has eggs in it.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, so I give them out to the staff and we take them, and yeah, we don't, there's nothing that eggs
Been
that I
in.
need. Some of the herbs though that I grow in the store, then I freeze dry and then we use and make other products with, but
Okay.
that's about it.
So what type of products does Natural Northern have today? How many different, like,
Holy cow. We have so many. So we make over, I think it's close to 40 different flavors of cream cheese spreads.
oh,
Yep. I
sounds
don't think the staff really excited about that, but that is the case. We make 2 fresh salsas. We have 5 jarred salsas, which is the cooked shelf stable kind. We make hot sauce. We do pickled jalapenos. And then I have all these little side projects going that I have flavored salts and rubs. And then I just started a natural skincare line, which you've been wonderful.
I have enjoyed the skincare line. I use
So
facial serum every night. I love that. I love that. And there's, oh, you have the hair. There's like a hair
we've
solution.
got hair serum. We're
Hair
doing
serum. Yep.
tallow lotions now.
Towel's next to my bed.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
your products. I use them all.
Well, so yeah, I mean, we stay busy, and it's pretty amazing. Our building is only 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
So,
I
you know, without seeing that, it's very small for what we're putting out, but we're very organized.
And it is an extremely clean. I've had a tour. It's been fabulous to be able to be there at the kitchen and see everything so clean and spotless there's the area where you have to store everything separate for the shipping or the containers, and then of course your kitchen where you're making these wonderful cream cheese spreads. My favorite. What is it?
I
That
take
one?
pride in the cleanliness, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really important because if somebody, I consider that business, that building, my home. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I hire somebody, I'm bringing them into my home. I wouldn't hire them if I didn't trust them. And I tell them the same thing. You know, the fact is they all are, we're together, we're a family, and this is our home. So we clean it and we treat it like it's our home, you know?
I can see that too, very much so.
Yeah.
I have another question that's a little bit different than where we've been going. I wanted you to be able to describe your businesses and the products and what have you. But what's a decision you made that scared you but changed everything?
Um, well, there were probably many of them. First and foremost, leaving my employment, leaving Burrett's Market to essentially be unemployed. And I think at that point, I had made the decision that this is do or die. Once I said, okay, then it was it. I remember that distinctly that weekend. I was a little stressed out. But other than that, I feel like when I bought the business, not the business, the building, that was the second thing. I felt comfort in knowing that I could, at any time, I could have stopped paying on my, cancel the lease or whatever. And they were all my recipes. So in theory, there wasn't really a lot of commitment. There was, and there wasn't. But for some reason, buying the property, that was, that's no going back. I don't know. That was, to me, that was the commitment.
That is a commitment to have, well, because you took on an additional property that had to be maintained. And of course, you had different health codes, I'm sure, or different
Yes.
that you had to follow that way. But so if you think back now, as we're reflecting a little bit, everybody has a different way that they enter into the business world. I mean, would you have changed any of it now, knowing where you are and all the sacrifices made and the people in your life? I mean, would there have been something different that you would have liked to have seen, or are you just thrilled that, I mean, for all the struggles, the pain, the glory? I mean, what, anything different?
Yes, many things. First and foremost, I'm blessed to be able to still be doing this after 20 years. I would have, if I could go back, my ego was too big. Okay, and maybe my pride and my ego. And so I really struggled with asking for help, taking help, and that caused me to make many, many mistakes. I figured I knew what I was doing. Well, I didn't. And, when the pain gets great enough, you finally realize that you don't want to do that. But that took years. And I remember, even talking to whether my husband or my mentor, Ken, they would try to give me assistance in, my area of specialty is writing recipes. I'm a multitasker and I'm creative. But when it comes to business decisions, um, I figured I had it all figured out, and that was not the case at all. So there were many, many mistakes, but I think if I could go back, that's what I would change. I would lessen the ego a bit.
Well, I wish we could always do it all, but I think we're given certain talents or strengths, things that we're better at. And so sometimes we have to get out of the way of ourselves and and find understand those weaknesses and bring in people to help us in those areas. But sometimes when you're up against a lot of no's, though, I think the challenge is bigger and you just, you feel like, no, I can do it. Fine. I can do it. I'm gonna do it.
Oh yeah, but the reality is, and it took me forever. I feel like forever. That's why one of the reasons why I say I'm very blessed, because in all of those moments where I was being offered help or direction and I didn't take it, it is a blessing that I still get to be here. And I didn't make mistakes in my recipes. It wasn't about that, but it was just about in general business decisions, knowing, buying, maybe everything I did was color and texture. And so when somebody told me that I should use a dried herb over a fresh herb, I was like, are you kidding me? I've got this. Nah, we got this. So, and there's a loss there and there's a learning lesson. There it goes from that part to, maybe all the way up into the accounting world. But no, I mean, I'm grateful for everything I've learned. And I guess I wouldn't change it, because if I did, then I wouldn't be able to be here today. But if I could still be here today and I could, it would definitely be an ego thing.
And from where you are today, despite some of those decisions that I'm sure feel bigger to you than the rest of us. Um, I mean, you sell your products, I mean, more than your store. You sell them more than just at the farmer's market. I mean, you're in many stores in Michigan, not just northern Michigan, correct?
Yeah, we are all over Michigan. We are at one count, it was at 200, but I know that we've surpassed that. And now we are in another market. There's a chain of supermarkets in Indiana. And so we've just been accepted into that as well. And that's 23 stores. So,
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
no, thanks.
That's
No
really
anxiety,
good. Well, I
but
think
it's great.
outstanding. So did they come to you and knew about your food, or was it a show that you went to, or how did you find out about this?
Well, so once we started working with distributors, then that is kind of out of my hands a lot of times. They did meet me at a food show, but I didn't know who I was talking to. Sadly. But nonetheless, they went to our distributors. This distributor put that relationship together. And so I really actually don't work with them at all, but I have met the buyers. That's as much as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so this is fairly new, 23 stores.
Yeah, it was just a done deal the first of this month. So
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
thanks.
I love to hear that. Well, I'm sure as we keep going and looking at these questions, I mean, it continues to bring out some really cool things. I love to hear this. But what's something about your business that no one sees, but is essential to your success?
Mm. I would say the staff. Nobody sees the staff, and they probably don't realize that we now have 5 people. We've had 4 people. And for the amount of product that's coming out, I would say it's the staff. And the second part of that would be that everything is done by hand. And so we don't have any automation. We have a donut filler as our packager, and that's technically, I don't even think that's counted as automation. But we are everything's hand done, from the labeling, the making of the products. That's, made in a large mixing bowl. The cheese it's a dough machine, essentially. And so literally every single thing, we farm out nothing. A lot of companies, that's the thing that I do take pride in, is there are other companies that, know their limits. That's probably one of my downfalls. I don't really know my limit. And they start to send out some of their products for other companies to produce, but we don't. We make it all in-house.
And that's again in your kitchen, in your 1,600 square foot kitchen that
Yep.
you said, and you're still producing. Way to go.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it takes real passion and drive and ambition to get in that kitchen, work with your staff, and produce all of these products for over
Oh, for
200
sure.
hours.
Well, I think that I feel, excuse me, I feel that multitasking is, is a skill, and I'm lucky to have that skill, and the organizing comes from partially from me, but also partially from the staff, because I don't micromanage. I want to, because that's technically my personality, but I've had to learn to step back, and if it's help, let them organize to help them be more efficient, if that makes any sense. So if
Mm-hmm.
they think that something should be over here, to the different side of the room because it's going to be easier for them, I'm very flexible. I mean, ultimately, they are the ones, I'm the face, they're my recipes, but I no longer get to make the products. The only thing I'm making anymore is the new things that I'm making for the week. You know, I'm there every day, but they don't need me. They've got it.
They do. I mean, like you said, you're making new recipes or you're trying,
Well, I do all the ordering
yeah,
and things like
new
that, but
spreads. Yeah. You're
they're making it.
gotcha. Well, you taught them originally
Yes, I did.
and now
Yes.
they're making that. So, and I think you have a website, right? What is your website?
Just naturalnorthernfoods.com.
Naturalnorthernfoods.com.
Yep.
That's great. And so people can order online as well if they were interested in your products.
Yes.
And you ship anywhere in the country?
We do. Now, one of the things that we have all of our products on the website. What we don't do is we don't on the website put that we can ship perishable products. But what I usually tell people, they'll reach out and they'll say, can you ship? And I will ship to them, but they have to email me separately. It's just too difficult to maneuver around all the areas. We're just not that big,
Yeah.
So if they email me, then I ship it out.
Well, and Traverse City is a very nice vacation spot. So any of our listeners, if they're summer, going up for the summer, a weekend, or, having a nice vacation, they can pop into your store. Your address is on the website. They can
Yeah.
find where you are and come. Plus, just being up there, I know in the Traverse City, Lake Leelanau, Suttons Bay area, you're in all of those stores. You're in Tom's Market, right?
Yeah, and actually they can order on the website, and if they're in town, they can order from the website and pick up at the market
Oh, okay.
if it's easier for them. We've had people want to do that. But yeah, we're flexible.
Yeah. Even in my area here in the Grand Rapids area, I know that you're in the Spartan stores. I can see you.
Yes.
I used to have to wait for summertime and now I can get it right here in Grand Rapids. So wonderful. Okay, so if your younger self could see your business today, what would she be most proud of?
I didn't quit.
Well, that was
Seriously.
easy.
No, it was very easy.
Yeah.
I didn't quit. There were very many times, that it would have been easy to say that I'm done. I'd made a mistake. I've made a million, and there were a lot of opportunities for me to say I'm done. But then, I would come home and I would think about it or cry about it and wake up the next day. And honestly, this is what I was supposed to do. This is what I do. And so I would just have to get back in there and, eat a little crow, apologize potentially, whatever the mistake was, whatever was causing the hurt or the frustration, and just get back in there. So honestly, I think that that's exactly it.
That you
I
just,
didn't quit.
I think that's huge, the perseverance. I mean, I hear
Hmm.
that so often is, just about the time you're on the breakthrough, people quit. It's like the precipice. When you're at the precipice,
Yeah.
that's when a lot of people just don't have the push it through and they've given up everything that they've put into it. And really it's just on the other side. You just got to push through. I think that's amazing.
Well, and I think
Not enough.
that, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think that part of that is that the other perspective of that is, could it be that I didn't know enough? Should I have? I mean, some people can make those decisions, and I think that maybe I was so hell bent on this was going to be a business that, for good or bad, I was doing it. And I would like to think my not quitting was the right thing, but and I think that that is the case. But the other people that do sometimes quit, I don't know, maybe that was supposed to happen, you know? I don't know. I could have quit a million times.
Well, and thankfully you didn't, because we
Yeah.
all get to enjoy your products. And even at those quitting moments, a lot of times that was just based on your original products, your cream cheese spreads or your
Yeah.
salsa. And now, because you haven't quit, you
Yep.
have your skincare line and even your seasonings and your rubs. And one thing you didn't mention that I'm familiar with is, you've kind of done a little bit of some dog food that is
Oh, yep.
that is natural. It's, in my opinion, one of your best products from Natural Northern Foods is, the dog food that you put together, because it's incredible. It has some sort of multivitamin in it. It has
Yep.
protein, it has, I don't know, you can say better, but I will say that as I don't eat it, although it looks good enough to eat. I know the dog vitamin might not sit well.
That would not,
But it
that's the
looks
one thing that does change the game a little bit. But before that, yes, you could eat it.
yeah, before the multivitamin, it was tempting. But anyway, it comes, it's freeze dried. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
It comes freeze
Mhm.
dried, and then I mean, it doesn't stay very long at my house at all. I don't need, but it is easy for you to be able to package,
Yes.
and then you're not worrying about the perishable part. And my dog is jumping up and down every time I'm trying to just get it in the bowl and mix it all together. So thank you for not quitting. Thank you for,
Well, I think I'm glad. I mean, I am grateful for every single person that I've met that didn't even realize that was actually, encouraging me, even when they liked something and I was having a really bad day. I can't disappoint that person, or I can't disappoint the staff. And I remember in the beginning, I, could afford one person. Brendan and I would work together. And when because we started this business, we had zero money. So every single bit of money I made from the salsa the week before went to paying Brendan and making more salsa. And that's how it worked for years. Then we would make money from the farmer's market. And then that was still paying Brendan. And, but I would think, I've already committed to people. I couldn't say no to them, or I could not tell them, well, I'm having a bad day, so we're not going to do this anymore. So I'm grateful that everybody was in my life, and whether they knew it or not, gave me strength to get back in there, because, I mean, it was definitely worth it. And I got to show my son, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this. I got to show him, even though he probably doesn't remember me starting, he did start coming to the kitchen when he was 3 years old, so I would have him there with me, and he would have his little tricycle, and, basically I was daycare. And, he grew up seeing how that was run. And then when he was 14, well, prior to that, he worked with me. But when he was 14, then he started actually working there and officially, and then, getting paychecks and all that kind of stuff. And so when he was 16, he knew that, that I had said that he couldn't work with me any longer. I wanted him to work for somebody else, and he did. And I'll tell you, he's a hard worker. And I feel like he got to see hard work. And I think that was helpful. I don't think it's everything, but I think it was helpful. It was more than I was given when I was a kid.
right. Well, I mean, you're showing by example.
Hmm.
They always
Hmm.
say actions speak louder than words, and he saw you devoted every day to this, thick or thin,
Day in, day out.
day in, day out. And just knowing a little bit about your personal family, it seems as though Braxton has made a choice to be in his own business.
Yes, he has. Yep. He's, his father is very successful and in what he does. And Braxton has chosen to take the road a little less traveled, and he started his own detailing business. And, he's busy and he's hardworking and he does it. He also has another job that he works on top of that. And so, yeah, no, it's fun. I've actually had to take a step back and not give so much advice because
It's
I'm like,
hard.
I'll just help him not make the mistakes that I did. And I can't do that. So I'm
Yeah.
learning as he goes.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you didn't have your own business and he hadn't had that example, that's not a normal route that kids take. I mean, he's a
It's a
young,
hard route.
yeah, it's a hard route, but it's not one that young kids normally take. So I give that credit back to you that that was something that he saw and he lived through and he saw your successes. He also knows your challenges. I mean, you didn't hide anything, but
Mm-mm.
part of what you've done. So
No, I've been very transparent for good or bad. Um, but it is cool. I was kind of hoping that he would want to be into food. I was a little disappointed but I've known food was not his thing. He loves to eat it. Cars are his thing
ours is
since
his
he was
thing.
a young boy. So, but it would be great if he had wanted to, you know, move forward in the cream cheese world. That would be fun.
Next step succession plan, right?
Right,
It
right,
didn't happen naturally, so.
right. Luckily, I have a lot of energy, so
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. You've got products
no,
to develop.
no, I've got more stuff.
New
In fact,
creation.
I'm actually kind of going back to where I started. So starting January or June 5th, sorry, I'm going to start another farmers market.
You're starting one or
Well,
participating?
it's actually going to be the first farmers market that Long Lake Township has ever had.
Oh,
And they invited me to be a vendor. And so I couldn't say no. And so I will be back in the farmers market saddle again. And be doing that every Thursday from 9 to 1
oh my gosh, that's
until
exciting.
October.
Well, thank goodness for Thursday. They get it.
Yeah.
Like, don't do the weekends.
Well, and the weekend, my store is open. So I'm at work
That's
on
true.
Saturdays from 10 to 2. So it is good that I would have probably have had to say no because I've already committed to the store. But I'm excited because it's where I started.
Yeah, it's
And I've
going back to
had
your roots.
4 years off from doing the farmers markets and maybe a little longer than that. 2019. I think 2019 was my last year doing farmers markets. And then, yeah, so this will be fun. I'm excited starting new products and I don't know, talk to me in July. We'll
Right.
see.
I'll check back in with you.
Yeah.
It's adding a little bit more to your plate.
Yeah, a little bit, but it'll be worth it. It'll be fun.
Well, it's the people, and I'm finding, at least my own self, I'm choosing to go to farmers markets more myself, to get the products that are from smaller companies, that are more wholesome or less chemicals, straight from the farm type of a feel, the fresh vegetables and the fruits and you get these other types of products like yourself. I mean, I visited the farmers market this Saturday and I was just looking for what could I get my hands on that would just be, good and fresh. And I went, just feels good. It just
Yeah,
feels
it
really good.
does for sure. It's
So
inspiring to me when I see other products around me because it's very easy to get into my bubble at work and not look around. And so going to a farmer's market was really what inspired almost all of the products that we have today. Well, until 2019, I would say, because every summer I would sit next to a different person. And that person, I remember distinctly, somebody had basil. And I wrote my basil artichoke recipe in my head sitting with this woman, for like weeks. And I don't know, it was just that's the way it worked. And then the cherry jalapeno, same thing. I
my
used
favorite.
a local cherry preserves from a friend of mine who has a cattle farm here.
Oh,
She has a little store and she was making cherry preserves and I said, "Hey, can I get some of those preserves? I have an idea." And so then it's her farm that's on the cherry jalapeno label.
oh,
So it's Gallagher Centennial Farms. But so a lot of that just came from the market and not having the farmers market. I don't know, I would say sort of deadened my creativity, because I wasn't able to, what's the point?
right.
It wasn't as exciting. So I wasn't
Now
seeing color all the time.
now you're going to be back, and who knows who's going to be next to you and which product you can use, or which,
Oh, I know. I'm so excited.
yeah, new recipe. And then your staff's going to be like, stop.
Oh, I know they will. Yeah, yeah. They're probably dreading this, but they're aware. And I think at this point, they're just kind of like, whatever makes her happy, she's kind of stays away, does her thing. We'll keep on doing our thing. So I think it works.
This has been so much fun. I
I
really
agree.
appreciate your time. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being part of women and the businesses they own. I hope that the listeners can really gain so much from just extraordinarily ordinary people. That's how I think of it, because we're all so unique and incredible with our gifts and talents, and yet we can all learn from each other as well.
Definitely.
So your story matters, and I think you just told it beautifully. Thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. And for all of those that are listening, remember, she came, she spoke, and she inspired.